And I think we're live as I refresh the feed. Always going to do the double take. And so while that's doing, I'll see if I can get this to go. The little video intro of welcome to the Cozy Mystery Book Club live stream. Will it go? Yay! It just seems very official if we start out with that.
It's beautiful.
We have the backup one too, in case the first one didn't work. I don't know why I do that. I have a backup, even though the first one's perfectly, technology. And people are commenting. Oh, thank you guys for joining. You guys are so sweet. I'm so glad everything's already working technology-wise. And then this is the other Angela. So this is the Angela episode, Angela Squared. And it's been a while since Angela, aka at wheel.wool, has been able to join us. So shout out to other Angela. She's a crafter for those of you who don't know. So is there anything else you wanted to mention before we started talking about tonight's book?
I don't think so. I'm a big book lover. I get to spend my day with elementary school kids, getting them to love books in my school library and come home to cats. So this book was right in my wheelhouse.
I just met her 2 kittens, and they're the most precious fur balls you've ever seen in your lives. They're just so cute. I want to reach through the computer and be like, oh, come to me. I want to adopt you.
If they come over again, I'll show you guys, but they're over on the cat tower.
I was going to say, if you have the chance, we got to get those cats over here because they were the cutest little things. I mean, I have my little girl, Daisy's, I have my little dog. I'm a dog mom, but I love cats. I went to Crimson Whiskers when I was visiting DC. I think I'm ready for a kitten.
Well, I think so too.
I mean, although our book for tonight is Double Book for Death, and Hamlet the cat from the book is not probably the best cat to start off with, though.
Yeah, I've had a few cats like him that just kind of swiped at everything, and I liked that Darla was still able to uphold the bookstore cat tradition that her aunt had started, even though she didn't seem to really care very much for poor Hamlet.
I just saw the comment, Angela squared.
It's double booked, double Angela. What else can we double?
I was going to say, like maybe double the caffeine.
Just water for me.
I mean, that's a fair point, though. Hamlet was probably a very realistic depiction of a cat. That's what I think. That's why I think I'm going to let it go. I'm like, okay, this is probably the first cozy companion that has a little bit more edge to them. But I didn't mind it because it was Hamlet. Like, it was Hamlet. He had...
Yeah,
he had his own sort of magical power as well. So he pulled down books, and then that's part of helping solve the mystery. That was unique.
Yeah, he even got called Ned to her Nancy Drew, which made my Nancy Drew heart so happy.
There were a lot of Nancy Drew references. That was the nickname for her. I mean, so for those of you who've seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the entire time, every single time I encountered the name Darla, I just kept thinking of Julie Benz from Angel and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but Darla. And so you have Julie Benz, her blonde hair and everything else. I kept picturing her, and I had to change my mindset because our Darla for Double Book for Death, our sleuth there, has the red hair. The nickname Red was the ex-husband, but I kept picturing my Buffy the Vampire Slayer girl.
I have weirdly never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so I didn't have that issue. I don't know. I didn't get into that show back in the day. I don't know what I was watching.
It's fine. Again, this was before the streaming age. I feel like I'm aging myself drastically when I say that. This was the let's wait week to week, or I gotta wait to go buy the new season on DVD.
Well, speaking of aging, when she was mentioning Jake, and she's like, oh, Jake, the older woman in her early 50s, I'm like, I'm 44. Like, I'm closer to Jake's age than the main character. I think he was 35. I'm like, I'm going to be the older woman in the cozy mystery. I don't want that to happen.
That was one of my notes. I'm like, this, what?
Yeah, totally not a fair description.
Because I think the only reason she was able to kind of get away with the description was when we find out Jake is retired, and you find out it's because of an injury. She has the limp, and she was shot in the line of duty. So that makes sense. But I was thinking, okay, I mean, when she said retired, I was thinking senior citizen, we're going 65 plus, but then you find that out and you're going, okay.
Yeah, Regina, I totally agree with your comment. She said that she took exception to the description of Jake, right? Yeah.
I was kind of defensive too, because honestly, this character was more active and more outgoing than I am.
She was running.
Like,
yeah, she was on it.
I mean, she's the one who actually did some of the detecting too. She was the one who was really kind of moving along of, okay, this is suspicious. So I kind of got to give her props. She was not an older lady ready to go settle in for the night. She was the bodyguard for the bookstore.
Yeah. And she got all dressed up for dinner that one night. She was on it.
Okay, I just saw someone said, I agree. I'm like, agree with what? We got to go back at the comment. I always miss something sometimes. Darla was in her mid-30s, but she felt a little younger to me. And then maybe that's why she kind of felt like she aged down. So maybe she was aging the other one up mentally, but that's still not a fair, accurate description.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out too the time period of the story because I know at one point she said something about Jake closed her flip phone, and I'm like, oh, okay, what year is this? Like 2002? And then she mentioned when when Princess Diana had died in a car accident that she had done something, I don't remember what, and I'm like, I wonder how old this character is. So maybe she's really older now. It's just the story was written 20 years ago.
Reference during the last live stream about incorporating pop culture references and how it can be dangerous.
Oh yeah, there were a few.
Yeah, this book fell into that pit hole, that trap. And I made note of this because it went over my head a little bit at first because I'm like, who's Lonnie? And it's one of the characters from the Haunted Halloween High there, or Haunted High, the fictional book of the book that we read. So Miley, they wanted Miley Cyrus to play Lonnie, but they don't say Miley Cyrus, but they're meaning Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
And they have backups with the casting in case there's another Lindsay. And I'm going, okay, so you think she's going to go Lindsay Lohan on you? I can read between the lines what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm going, oh, that's a really dated reference now. And I mean, I'm thinking, okay, we're thinking Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana days. That reference caught my attention.
It took me a minute to remember. Yeah, it took me a minute to remember who the Lindsay was that they were referring to.
I mean, she's calmed down. Isn't she pregnant and having a baby? I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, I'm like, let Lindsay be, and Miley can go be Miley. I mean, you could have said anything about casting Lonnie, about an actress they were looking for, but for some reason, having the names thrown in without the last names felt very odd. Like they were trying to get away with it, but that made it even more obvious.
Yeah.
That was the next one, the little wizard boy who got referenced so many times.
Yeah, the boy wizard.
And can we acknowledge that this book was pretty much the Twilight? Haunted High was very much inspired by Edward and Bella and Jacob and Stephanie Meyer over there. I mean, we can kind of say this was around that time period, I think, right?
Most definitely. And I admit, I read the whole Twilight series. I devoured it all. And when I got to the end, I'm like, what did I just do? I mean, I would probably read the Haunted High series.
Scene. The battle scene that never happened. The battle scene that never was. I was like, I had a pen at some point. I was like, I think the dog might have stolen it. There was a Daisy here. Oh, so Daisy did not steal. I was about to be worried about her.
Crystal says, why does a bookstore need a bodyguard? It's like they know trouble is going to happen. Yeah, that was interesting that the aunt kind of, I don't know, maybe they were friends and she just gave her the room in the basement. It made it interesting though that she brought Reese into the picture. And I believe when they introduced him, I think they said he was like 50 also. And, it seemed kind of like she was considering him for her love interest. So
I thought he was younger than that.
Oh, I don't know.
I think you're thinking of James. James was in his 60s, I think.
Yeah, that I knew.
I have my list of characters.
Was pretty old. Okay.
We gotta see. I also had to keep a list because I was getting confused after a certain point. I had trouble keeping up with the characters. I'm pulling up we got the ebook over here because the paperback is somewhere within the library that I was not able to find. So I think the one thing about Reese that kind of killed me was probably the first 5 references of him was him and his chipped tooth smile. And I just kept thinking, if I had a chipped tooth, that would not be the one thing I want you to focus on every single time you recommend, like you reference me in your head mentally. Oh, his chipped tooth smile, his chipped tooth smile. I'm going, leave the poor guy alone. Get him a dentist appointment. Do the copay for him. Stop it. Leave him be.
I thought it was interesting that the author chose to introduce Reese saying that he didn't like bookworms. And as I have a shirt today, professional bookworm. As a professional bookworm and a cat lover, which I learned from this book, there's an official word for that too.
I highlighted that.
I'm not too sure about how I feel about Reese.
So, standing guard a few yards down the line was Jake's off-duty cop friend Reese. He was a tall guy with curly blonde hair who looked like he spent a lot of time in the gym. Darla guessed he was a few years younger than she, probably no more than 30. No doubt when he was in his 20s, he'd been considered a pretty boy.
Mm-hmm.
Found the Reese description. James is the older gentleman who's the professor. I think that's where we were going because I also didn't know what was going on with this guy at one point because he's against genre. He very much kind of looks down on genre readers, genre fiction, but at the same time he acknowledges that's where the money is. But he's in charge of the old school books, the rare editions, so that's fine. He can as long as he does what he does and they stay in their lane, they're fine.
James was my first suspect, to be honest.
He just didn't read well. I know Regina, the Southernista, she actually had one of the comments for Instagram when I asked who we wanted to talk about. She's like, I didn't like this guy. And it's true. He's very unlikable. I haven't read any of the other books in the series, but if he gets killed off, that might not be the worst thing.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked when he was the first one that said he was going to take the signed books and put them up for auction on eBay. Yep. Maybe he's the murderer because, you know, he felt he wasn't getting enough money from the shop, or maybe he wanted to be more in charge and now Darla took over instead of him or something. So
I had that moment too of, this is what you're doing the night someone dies. And for those of you who forgot or you haven't read the book, but you want to join us anyway because you love talking about cozy mysteries, the night of the murder is the author's signing. And apparently this is one of the things I've heard about this book signings. They have the authors sign their copies first before they go out and sign the readers' copies. So they had probably a dozen books ready to go that she signed for them. He starts ringing them up and taking them home going, well, these are collectible now. They're going to sell well. I'm going, she's still warm out there. The rigor mortis has not set in. The cops are still here, and you're ringing up the book like nothing happened. Okay, this is exactly what I thought. Darla let him get away with this. This was the moment where I'm going, okay, I thought she would have stood up to him a little bit, been a little more empathetic, sympathetic of, hey, there's a dead body out there. I mean, that's also her merchandise. This is her store. Technically, he's trying to pull a fast one. So I was that was very suspicious to me. I'm like, if you're not killed off in the next book, like maybe the third one.
Yeah, he was definitely not my favorite. Yeah. My only thought is that maybe Darla isn't quite used to being in her role in the bookstore yet. She had mentioned that, you know, she was kind of trying to feel things out. And she mentioned about how she was worried when she first got there, how everyone would take her. So perhaps it hasn't been all that long.
See, I definitely, Darla should have, I'm noticing the comments that she should have stopped him. It definitely felt like he did that bulldozer, like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And this is where maybe age could be a factor if she didn't want to tell the older gentleman, this is what you're going to be doing, or someone who's I mean, this man positions himself as the the be all end all with the professorship going. I mean, she's going to have to kind of put him in his place, and maybe that was too uncomfortable for her. But that was definitely something that caught my attention too.
Yeah, perhaps.
Oh, I'm seeing the comments pop up. Feels a real debt to James for all the help he gave her aunt. That's true too. Maybe that was the let James kind of get along, and maybe she'll put him back in his place in book 2 if he keeps this up.
Yeah.
But yes, so Cat Mom does not care for Reese.
I'm with you, Cat Mom. I highlighted one part. Reese seemed to realize he'd stepped in it, for he raised both hands in surrender. Sorry, I didn't mean anything. I'm just not much on wasting my time on books. And then later he says, but that spawn of Garfield better hope I don't come down with cat scratch fever. The detective shot the spawn in question a cold look. And I was like, what? There it is, the evidence. You're not worthy of anything in this book. You don't like books. You don't like cats.
She definitely was fighting against the cozy mystery tropes that we're used to. I mean, right off the bat, as soon as he said he didn't like reading, and he's a bodyguard at a bookstore. I mean, know your audience. This person owns a bookstore. You're talking about not liking books to someone who literally owns books for a living. No, I mean, that right off the bat, you're going, okay, you better not be the love interest. And then when the cat, really? I know Hamlet had his moments. Yeah, he was feisty. But I mean, it's the cozy companion. What?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I agree with Crystal. I liked when the cat attacked Reese. Yeah. I was like, yeah, you go. You can sense his evil soul.
Okay, so growing up, my mother had a cat, and her cat she had the cat before she had me. And this cat was not a fan that a baby was brought into the house. So my entire life growing up, this cat would run out and she would go after my ankles, my whatever skin was available. So she's probably taking care of her cat right now. So the fact that Hamlet was a little bit feisty felt, oh, what a cutie pie. Oh,
there's one. That's Buttercup.
I'm like, I want to adopt her kid. I'm like, I know this cat has a perfect, amazing home, but I'm like, oh, I want to keep you. So cute.
This is the one that stole my heart. This is Clover, the little boy, their brother and sister. I love him so much.
I'm like, love at first sight. Oh, he did a little paw, like, hello, cozy mystery companions. Oh, what a cutie. Oh my goodness. They're so precious, aren't they?
Yeah. They make my day coming home. I don't know how Reese could be so mad at fluff balls like that, even grumpy ones like Hamlet. And hey, he was a really important character. I think Hamlet was more of an important character than Reese.
He was. He helped with the sleuthing. He's knocking off books. So Hamlet, okay, this cat pretty much helped solve the entire mystery. This cat is the one who knocked off a book on the shelf about ghostwriting and taking credit for authorship and publishing. He's the one who made them notice the passage and kind of made the little mystery tie up into a nice pretty bow for them. He knew things. He was brilliant.
Yes. And the books that he chose to knock off the shelf were just perfect. It really made you kind of think, ooh, Crime and Punishment, 12 Angry Men, there was another one. It just made you kind of think, what is going on? What is he really noticing? Did he see the murderer when he was out there in the courtyard?
Also, if my cat was missing and a murder just happened, I was not going to leave that cat in the courtyard regardless. I don't care. I would have gotten my flashlight and a warm sweater or something. I would have gone on the hunt. I love that fact that Hamlet was upstairs in her room, though. That was just absolutely adorable.
Did anybody else totally freak out when she described Hamlet laying on the bed? I was like, no, this can't happen. Please, not Hamlet. I know he's mean, but, I love him already.
I kept wondering about this too. I kind of thought maybe this bookstore would take on a little bit of a paranormal slant. I thought maybe he was the familiar, or maybe Auntie had that sort of connection and he was a little bit magical, mystical, because this cat, again, was right on the money. he also named himself. They found him on the copy of Hamlet with his little paw pointing at the name Hamlet. He's like, this is who I am. Right from the get-go. He was perfect. He was so wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't consider that, but I really like that angle.
But even then, I got the biggest kick out of the opening because this cat, again, she nailed the realism with this little guy. He stood up for himself when this old man had the cane and was like, is he dead? And he's poking at him with his cane. He attacked him and he scratched up the cane. I'm going, you go, Hamlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want anyone poking me either.
I was rooting for the cat. I mean, I understand. Okay, he's the patron. You gotta make sure you don't get sued. Keep them nice, safe, and healthy over there. But you do not poke the cozy companion. You do not mess with a sleeping cat. Leave him be. That's his home. He has more right to be there than you do.
Yeah. And it kind of foreshadowed how Darla was going to be tough, even though something unexpected would happen. That she, even though she was new to taking care of that bookstore of her aunt's, that she was going to do what it took to make sure that it continued. So even when she had those, as she described it, goth kids out there saying they were going to share with their thousands of followers not to shop at her store, you know, she was a little worried, but she kind of took it in stride.
I have to say, I gave her credit when, again, I think, so Marianne was at the cash register, but Lizzie was the woman who returned back to school. Lizzie was the one who created some drama, and Darla handled it very well. So this is when I think she hit her managerial ownership role with the bookstore. So Lizzie definitely stepped out of line. She just, are there more cats? I was all excited. I'm like, she has cats.
No, sorry.
But Lizzie, spoiler alert, she hired someone to protest the author signing because she believes that the author who was the victim had stolen her book, and she was going to have a protester out there causing a little disruption because she felt as if she needed to be vindicated to some degree. And so she was causing problems. Someone was protesting at the bookstore where I don't understand that. She was paying the woman $50 an appearance to protest, but she wasn't making that much money. But this was worth it to her to disrupt the bookstore, to get the sort of the lady's name kind of taken down a notch or a degree or something. So Lizzie definitely deserved to have herself get fired. And so the fact that Darla said it was very nice, parting the ways, it was amicable, but at the same time, I'm glad Darla said, no. I don't want you in this store anymore. Like, this is the end of the line for us as our working relationship. So I got to give her credit for that moment.
Yeah, it was nice that, you know, she gave her that chance. I think if someone had copied my manuscript in college and then totally ignored that they even knew me when I saw them, I wouldn't be happy either.
We never actually got full-on confirmation that this occurred, though. So
True.
This was kind of left lingering of there's an episode of Elementary where this woman is playing her guitar and she's going, it's the same one. They stole my jingle. And Joan's looking at her going, they sound kind of similar, but it doesn't sound completely stolen. Like, if it's one of those sort of things. But even then, I'm very curious because this is where the day and age of the book comes into question again. So I know that they have the Miley reference with Hannah Montana. How long ago was this class? Because if it was on a typewriter and you only had one copy, okay, right, that makes sense. But wouldn't you have been doing this on a computer? Did you have a floppy disk, perhaps?
I didn't think of that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how she would have gotten the entire thing. That is a really good point.
That was my question because I grew up with my mother having the typewriter. I know the typewriter system and you only have your one copy. But if you're in a writing class and you're probably doing multiple iterations of drafts or chapters, wouldn't you have had another backup piece to show for yourself?
Yeah. Marta mentions that it was in a box, a Bloomingdale's box. Yeah.
But was it every single copy plus her floppy disk plus like whatever else involved? Because I have questions. I understand when it's before the computer age and It reminds me of that Murder, She Wrote episode of, I can send an email from here to my publishers in New York, because she was so fascinated about the computer age, having been the typewriter.
Yeah.
But if this was not a typewriter, and I don't believe this is the typewriter age, that felt like a very contrived sort of red herring to me a little bit.
Yeah. There were a few of those. Like I said, getting that timeline was a little bit difficult.
Oh, we have to talk about Callie. She was, aside from Hamlet, I love this little girl. I wanted to adopt her.
She was amazing. I was so glad when she played an important role in discovering everything out. That made me so happy. And just her whole attitude about it. I was like, Callie, I love you. I just want to hug you.
So I love this girl from the very first scene. She was the one when Hamlet was attacking the man where she got involved, because I'm with her on this one. If somebody said they're going to get the pistol for a cat, I would have lost my mind too. She throws herself on top of Hamlet, and the cat doesn't mind because he knows, oh, she's protecting me. She's a good child. From the beginning, we know Callie has the best heart of all of the other characters in the book. I adored her. And then she was really the little sister, because she was taking photos.
Yeah.
Older sister about that. Like, oh, I got her butt over here. I got her over on this side. She's blurry there. I mean, she was being the little sister, but she wasn't sharing the photos or anything. But she was there in line, and she wanted her book signed. Oh, she was so precious.
Yeah, she was a really great character. I enjoyed her from the very beginning to the end. I hope that she's in the next one too.
I want her to be volunteering at the bookstore, or someone to kind of be like, oh, you want to learn the ins and outs, or we're going to have a book club or something, because she was too cute to only have in one story.
She could start her own book club, and they could solve some kind of mystery. It would be great.
But I also I like this comment. When you were happy, she realized Mavis was also, I mean, at this point, we've been talking about the book. Spoiler alert. Mavis is a character in disguise. And so she recognized, but she was so sweet about it. She's going, I don't mind. She goes, whatever you want to do is fine with me. She just kind of wanted to say, oh, I recognized you. It wasn't calling Morris out for anything. She was just saying, oh, hi, I saw you that night. And I think
I remember you. Yeah, I have a picture of you. And yeah, she was just so cool about it. And I think that a lot of the world could learn a good lesson from Callie.
I was going to say she was the perfect juxtaposition against that religious zealot of the sister's neighbor who occurred. Everyone's gonna be burning in hell for reading this book series. And then you have Callie, who just wants to be happy. And she's so sweet when she even says HELL, like she spells the word hell out instead of saying it, and she's actually referring to literal hell too. Okay, supernatural. She thinks the demons are going sent down there. She's actually referencing the place, and she wouldn't even say it. And I'm going, you're too precious.
Yeah. She was there to show what we should truly be like to each other.
But I saw this too. I was so happy she got her signed copy. That was my thing. That was my one thread that needed to be kind of tied up nicely. This girl, she better have had that signed book. And the fact that she was gifted the copy by Darla, I loved that moment.
Yeah. Oh, Mama rocks. I agree with you. That warmed my heart. It also made me kind of figure out a little bit of what was going on before it was made all clear. Because, like they had mentioned later, asking those kinds of questions, getting those kinds of insights, you could just, in the words on the page, you could hear the pride in the tone, it was really well written, that scene.
It was so sweet too, because she brought him out of his shell, and later on they say he has the anxiety disorder, but she was able to converse with him and make him feel comfortable. And so I think later on, when you find out more about his background, who he is, it takes on even more prominence. Like the poignancy becomes, it just comes off the page. You're going, looking back, you're going, oh, he was able to have this conversation with her, and it's just love that moment so much. Yeah. I'm glad you guys mentioned that up. Because it also, it just also.
Crystal T. Nitz mentions about, the religious group and how far they went, and, being a public school librarian in Florida is a really tough time right now. So, sadly, it's kind of my current reality, and kind of all of us in Florida. But, you know, that's why I think Callie was such an important character.
I have to admit, I was surprised that she received the letter from the sister's neighbor saying, this is what's going to happen. We're going to protest. And then she actually comes and she's in multiple chapters. I was kind of surprised that the cozy mystery would have a character like that be so prominent. Maybe one or two references, but having this, your damnation's coming and you shouldn't be reading this, it definitely took me out of my, I don't want to call it escapism, but my fun enjoyment reading. I'm going, okay, this is hitting a little too close to home right now.
Yeah, there were a few moments like that. I think between that and then usually in cozy mysteries, there's maybe one or two curse words in the whole entire book. But there were quite a few in this one that kind of shocked me out of my little reverie.
That's one of my notes, and I started keeping track after a certain point because this is, again, why I liked Callie and made note of it. Not only was she not saying the word hell, and I feel badly saying it so frequently right now, but they said it a lot in this book. Where in the hell were you? Where in the hell was? And I started keeping track. So this was thrown in there a lot. But then there was also sit on my blank cop. I don't want to say it, but it's 3 letters, starts with A, the last one is an S. And that was in there, and even just like little references of damn it, like they said damn it a lot as well. And so it definitely caught my attention because it was so frequent in its usage. It wasn't just a one-off, and these were also our main characters. Usually the main character swears in a cozy, they just encountered the murder and they better get their butt run in the other direction.
Yeah.
This is just exactly your everyday dialogue, though.
I know someone mentioned earlier the copyright. I think they said they thought it was 2012. I'm scrolling back. I have only the ebook of this. Let's see. 2011.
Okay.
So, imagine if we would have read this back then. We would have probably fallen on the floor. This was probably one of the first cozies to kind of go in that direction.
You're like, here's the boundary. We're pushing up against this line.
Right.
It's so this is actually really interesting because you brought it up first. I had my notes here because I was keeping track of it, but it caught my attention because that's one of the definitions of cozy mysteries. So no on the page sex, there's very little if no gore, and then same thing, very little to no swearing. And it kind of came up a little bit, but I was at BoucherCon and one of the authors on the panel said they didn't like it when a reader referenced that they were swearing in a cozy mystery, and how if you have that in a review, put it at the end of your review so that it doesn't take away from somebody else's reading. Like, it's the way she said it, I'm paraphrasing, but she said if you have that reference or you want to make note of that they're swearing in this book, put it at the end so that it's not the focal point of your review. And I couldn't have disagreed with her more, because as a cozy reader, that's one of the definitions for the subgenre. And I want to know going in, is this a darker cozy? Are we going Agatha Christie? Or is this Hallmark light and fluffy and I can just fall in and have all of my puns and fun recipes and everything? So to me, that's actually an indicator of how dark the book is going to get. And so when she's up there on the panel saying this, I'm going, okay, from the writer perspective, I totally understand. You don't want to have someone disregard or knock your book for something like that. But for a reader, I want to know.
Yeah, especially because it does so much define this genre specifically. And I didn't even think of it, but I guess because I read the ebook and not the real book, but usually I read the back of the book out loud to my husband because I like to hear him moan at the pun at the end. And there weren't any puns. You're right.
There was one title, and it had to do with the Bath and Body. It was the Bath and Body Works store, but it was not Bath and Body Works. It was called Great Scentations.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only fun title name that I found. But it is a little bit darker because we don't have the puns. We don't have our fun cupcake decorating or something lighthearted there. So it does skew a little darker. I mean, even Hamlet being named Hamlet. You know, that's not an uplifting play.
Yeah.
So maybe that's also an indicator.
Yeah. And he was a black cat. Week 2, I have a black cat. I love black cats. But you know, that kind of sets a tone as well as to where it might be going.
So I am curious because there's not really a lot of comments popping up about this, but if you guys don't mind that, I see Marta saying she likes our Hallmark to HBO continuum because this has come up before. I mean, I've read Agatha Christie. I don't mind it, but I know going in, and then there were none. It tells you. You know what you're getting invested in. Same thing with Hallmark. You know your TV rating. So I think the fact that there's sort of the spectrum is really interesting. And sometimes it's okay, and sometimes you're going, take this, just what just happened?
Yeah. We'll see. I would be curious. I'm not sure if I'll read the second one, but I think I will definitely look it up just to kind of get the gist of what it's about, because I'm curious where it's going next.
So there's also a range with the ratings here. So 34% of y'all said 3 stars, 30% said 5 stars, 25% said 4, and 10% said 1 or 2 stars. So there seems to be a wide range of we like it, we don't love it, or I love the book, or not mine. So this is interesting. Usually there's a little bit more of a consensus. So there's a divide happening.
That is a really big divide, especially on the 1 and 2 stars. That surprises me. I've had a few that I gave a 1 or 2 star. When I got to the end of this, I put 5 just because for the type of cozy that it was, I thought that it was written really well, and it had those aspects that normally weren't in a cozy, but even though they caught me off guard, I still enjoyed the story. It didn't detract from the enjoyment for me.
I definitely think it could be enjoyable depending on what you're looking for your cozy mystery read. If you're looking for the fun puns and lightheartedness, this wasn't going to be your cozy. But if you don't mind it being a little darker or having a lead character not be real sleuthing, she's not sleuthing a lot. It just depends on what you're looking for, I guess. I didn't mind the book. The big end reveal kind of caught me off guard because should we just talk about it?
Yeah, Crystal's asking about it. She said she has 30 pages to go, but she wants to know if her theory is correct.
I mean, honestly, with the agent, we only met her at the author signing. She's not even at, someone up top mentioned the funeral. The Hampton funeral also sounded very intriguing with all the publishers and attendants, and how Darla was able to sneak in is kind of interesting to me.
Oh, I know. Was it a big hat and hidden behind someone?
Yeah.
And the fact that Hillary didn't put her on the guest list too. I was
going to say, that's where we get our second reference to Hillary before the big reveal. Is they say she's not the most reliable, but that doesn't make you a killer. Saying someone can forget the name for the list of funeral attendees is one thing. Saying they're a murderer is another.
Yeah, that makes you having a really busy job, and perhaps saying, yeah, I'll put you on the list when really maybe you aren't allowed to.
Oh, no, she did do sleuthing, but it was one of those, she kind of fell into it. It wasn't, I must solve this mystery. She very much sort of had the best friend driving force, or she stumbled upon a clue with Hamlet. I wanted her to have a little bit more agency of, I'm going to go get this thing. It wasn't until the funeral where I felt like she took it upon herself to go get those clues.
Yeah, everything else kind of fell into her lap, or literally fell off the shelf thanks to Hamlet. You know, the protester walking out of the coffee shop when the other two are walking out of the store next door, the consignment store, when they went in the coffee shop. You know, those kinds of things just kind of happened even though she wasn't looking for it. But yeah, definitely at the funeral, she got a little more gutsy.
Yeah, I feel like that was a turning point for her. But she definitely started doing her sleuthing, and she started making the connections a little. She was being a little bit more Nancy Drew-like because maybe the nickname had rubbed off on her. She's going, okay, fine, I'll embrace my Nancy Drew-like nature. But yeah, we don't really see Hillary. I'm impressed that you had her on the list because, again, I keep my list of characters over here because aside from Lizzie, who I genuinely thought was going to be the killer because that had the most motivation, made the most sense, I thought maybe like this was a long-term thing where she resented her whole life, and this was the one moment that everything changed for her, and maybe she went off her rocker. But I didn't really know who else it could have been besides we had very few characters. So we had our leading lady, Darla. We had Jake, the BFF, and it's never the BFF. Reese, the love interest. It's usually not the love interest unless there's two of them and one of them turns out to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm knocking these people off my list. James, I just didn't like him. I didn't know if he killed her.
He was my first suspect.
I mean, I was curious if killing her to get the book signature, like if that was enough of a motive. Like, was that really, like, would he have killed her for that? Like, that's why I thought he was a suspect. We have Koji, who's the publicist. Then we have Mavis, who we later find out more, and Marianne, the cash register attendee.
She was my other suspect, Marianne. So I was glad when there was that information about Marianne sneaking through, and when she was over in her antique shop and asking about the basement and does it connect to my store, and she kind of, like, in my reading mind at least, hesitated before she answered. So I was like, ooh, there's something to that. Maybe it's Marianne, she's the one.
Because then I had Everest, who's the bodyguard, and I highly doubt you're gonna be the bodyguard if you plan on killing your person. We had a random guy named Ted who he changed the locks. We never saw him again.
Yeah,
but I wrote his name down. And then
did anyone else totally imagine Everest as the actor that was in The Green Mile? Because that was who I cast in that role.
He seemed nice. I mean, he felt badly that he had to bar her from the funeral at first because she wasn't on the list. He didn't technically do a very good job of keeping her fully safe, though. I don't know. How do you put that on your resume? Bodyguard for deceased star. I think that would be a little bit hard to overlook if you're applying for a new job.
Yeah. But maybe, you know, since there were, it seemed like a lot of B-list celebrities, again, kind of like spoofing and cutting down Twilight, which, you know, I think Stephenie Meyer would kind of disagree that, you know, she is a real author with real books and a real fan base. But, you know, I get it. I get how people can make fun of things like that.
I actually give Stephenie Meyers so much credit. So not only was this a very popular series, but she actually could have gone after 50 Shades of Grey and had them regulate fandom and what adaptation really meant for definition and what could you do with this versus inspiration. She could have dug her feet in and she could have had a ripple effect on the entire publishing industry, creative industry, but she didn't. She took it in strides, and I'm going, like, you deserve more credit for what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, also, when somebody hits that type of nerve in a readership, like that alone, just gotta give them credit. Stop giving her flack.
Definitely. I mean, all the books that are, I mean, the fantasy genre, at least in young adult fiction, has just exploded, and she's one of the main reasons why that has happened. So
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And she actually was one of the original discreet covers, having the apple and things like that. So it's not just the bodice ripper-esque couple. Like, that was one of the turning points as well for young adult romance. This is when they started showing off, oh, the couple are standing close together, her foot's up in the air. She also had the cover effect. Everybody really had a lot going on.
People are still copying that black cover with something close up on the front with their books.
I mean, I like how we're on the same page. This is why when you diss genre fiction, this is not the group of people to diss it to.
That's right. Don't mess around with us.
I saw someone. Okay, so someone was mentioning how she didn't actually solve the case. Where did it go? There was a comment where someone said I lost it. Here it is, Regina. So yes, this was one of my notes, because when it comes to our sleuthers solving the case, I don't want them confronting the murderer without a weapon or calling 911 or something silly like that. Throwing that out there. But she's literally on the sidelines as Morris confronts the killer, his sister's murderer. She's literally watching it like it's a movie. Like she's watching a Hallmark reveal here with the whodunit.
And I loved the theater trick that they used. I totally thought it was Vivian's ghost. I thought for sure. I thought she was there. I'm like, she's the Haunted High author, but now she's come back for real to revenge her murder. And then to find out it was a old theater trick, I was like, oh man, I totally got suckered into that.
I would have loved for it to have been like a fake out of sorts of, I knew my life was in danger and I pulled one of those Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlocks where I faked my death and I'm laying on the side and this is how we faked it. I mean, I was kind of hoping it was that because again, that would have been kind of a cool twist for the cozy, but I gotta say, I love that Morris did do the confrontation to get he had it recorded. He got the confession. He got the murderer on tape saying, this is why I did it. And he was the one who had that big reveal gotcha moment. I'm going, oh, Morris, Mavis, whatever you want to be called, you were very good in that moment. I applaud you.
And planned everything out just perfectly. Actor, actress, playwright, producer, director, all in one.
Okay, so I also thought maybe this is where the paranormal with maybe the aunt would be coming back and, we're tying in the Haunted High components. I'm glad I'm not the only one who was going, oh, there's more to this.
Yes, I thought we were going to totally have a paranormal cozy on our hands going forward. Like my favorite library, I forget the title of it. It's a library one with a ghost of a librarian.
Alison Brooks, Death Overdue.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I've read them all. I thought that's where we were going, but
that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Well, even then, Amanda Flower has her magical library where the books float off the shelves to people and things like that. So it could, I was going to say, if she had wanted to do that, she could have.
She could have. You never know. Someone mentioned about how did Marianne get in through the basement without setting off any alarms. So maybe she only had an alarm on the front door and not because it was like a panel, right? That had kind of almost hidden knob. So maybe she doesn't have any motion sensors in the store.
This woman was walking around multiple evenings. Also, if there's someone walking around your store and there was a murder, I would not be going down there curious myself. So we have Everest, the bodyguard, whose person passed away, and then Jake is supposed to be the store's bodyguard security system, and people are breaking in. These people need different professions.
I know. That's why we needed Hamlet to save the day. He is the bodyguard with his claws, and he is the detective with his book clues.
He's also the one who I think kind of alerted them when someone was down in the store. That's when they were able to actually they were able to confront her going, why are you breaking in? And I don't know if it was a good enough reason to break in. So I wanted to ask about that.
I have wanting a book back that was a family heirloom. I don't know why she just didn't ask. Like, why would you go through that? To me, Marianne was considered, she was even older than Jake. So, like, maybe she was 57. I don't know. I pictured her like 70. But she said she even went in the dumbwaiter. That's some serious, like, little space to get in there to move yourself up to find a book that the whole entire time she had in her apartment in a box anyways. Exactly, Amy. Why not just ask for the book back?
Yeah, that was one of those moments where I'm going, okay, I don't really know what to make of this, because honestly, the only way I thought it would have made sense was if she had seen or heard Darla do something that was an overreaction, or she was scared her off somehow, because Darla seems pretty reasonable. She doesn't do anything to sort of make you take a step back of go, oh, I need to re-examine you as a character. She doesn't have any of those moments. And so unless something like that had happened where she was having a really bad day and she said the wrong thing at the wrong time, I didn't really know why she felt compelled to go through all of that. I mean, I could even understand her breaking in once to look for it, before she asks Darla for the book. Like, even then, I think that's pushing it.
Yeah. I think if anything, it was probably just where she didn't want to be like, hey, do you, as Jake described it, do you have a book about erotica laying around? Because that belongs to me, you know, kind of like if you've seen Only Murders in the Building with the painting of Steve Martin's dad. You know, it's not the kind of thing you want to bring up to people.
I mean, honestly, though, if it was just asking Darla after hours, it would just be asking one person. And she said she's read all the romance novels and she was well versed in everything. So it wasn't as if she was asking the religious zealot woman to go get this item for her. And that woman would have definitely been a bad person to ask about something. But like, that's why Darla to me didn't come off as an issue to ask, because she was so open-minded. And when she figured out, oh, Morris is Mavis, she didn't have any comebacks that were inappropriate or anything like that. She seemed very open-minded and going, I wouldn't have been concerned to ask her for that type of book back. But again, maybe that was supposed to be an age-related sort of decision of, oh, we don't talk about those things. I have my brown bag over my romance novel cover. Maybe it's something like that.
Yeah, it was kind of throughout it. It was kind of an interesting combination of like religion. At one point there was, you know, they were talking to the extreme religion lady, but then they mentioned something else that was still, I think it was like love your neighbor or something like that. So there was, I don't know the age of the author who wrote this, but it seemed like they kind of wanted to be on the kind of hip and cool market, but they also wanted to kind of put their own opinions in there at the same time.
That was a very eloquent way, and I'm like, I'm having such a hard time concentrating on anything because I'm like, Kitty.
What isn't he the sweetest?
Oh my god, I want to cry at the cuteness. It's just so sweet. And he's letting me hold him, and
he's so good, and he snuggles next to me and just purrs. He's such a good baby.
Okay, I just saw this comment. So this gave me a flashback to the Carol J. Perry book where people had comments when it came to the big reveal at the end. Honestly, I mean, I don't know why Morris cross-dressing would have been the big deal that it was. That's why she had to be the ghostwriter or the ghost name, or she had to take credit for his work because he wanted to be like this and he was going to be embarrassed if it came out. I think when they said later on that he had the anxiety disorder and he couldn't deal with the press or publicity, that was a better reason than being embarrassed.
I agree. I don't think that the whole trans thing needed to even be, it was kind of like everything else, you know, where there was that juxtaposition between this is okay, but no, it's not okay. You know, it's kind of like I felt both from the author at the same time. And as a musician, I have a lot of friends that have a lot of different ways that they love, and that's their way, you know? So I don't understand why it was made such a big deal. And again, maybe it's because the book was written 12 years ago.
I was going to say, because we never really got into the subject of his sexuality. It was just him doing the dressing up as Mavis, and that was how he was able to express himself. They said that was where he felt most himself. I mean, maybe this is because it was before the conversation with gender versus sex, and we have come a long way. And I was thinking about how they now have that different term. It's like the quozy, the queer cozy. Like the subgenre has evolved. So maybe this book would have been written differently today. So maybe there would have been a little bit of a nicer, more liberal take on it's okay. Like it really is okay. We're not dissing you for anything. Be who you want to be.
Yeah. And I mean, we got that viewpoint from Callie. So at least we had that character in there. it kind of felt like it was just left up in the air at the end, you know?
Well, can we also acknowledge that Morris was absolutely awesome? He's the one who wrote the books that were such a huge success. He had that great conversation with Callie, and he lost his sister, and he was the one who was able to figure out the mystery and get justice for her. He's the one who got the confession on tape and was able to actually go up against Hillary. I'm going, this guy, he was the great sleuther in his own right. He was wonderful.
Exactly.
I loved him as a character.
And he even said he felt like his heart was like torn apart because he didn't have his sister anymore.
Oh, he was great. Callie was great. I mean, I will say I did enjoy Darla. The more I read her, the more I liked her. So when she had a little bit of an ulterior motive here to get rid of Crazy Woman. I think that's actually what they called her, the Crazy Woman or something like that.
I think so.
There was a term that they had. It was like, it wasn't like loony. It was something odd because the religion.
Trying to look, see if I put it in my notes.
They had a name. I thought it was the Crazy Lady because then they had the Lone Protester. They had these different names for the different characters instead of just calling them by their names. But she offered to get the van repaired for them. And so she wanted them out of town, get away from my bookstore, but also like doing the nice thing of giving them money. It was kind of, that definitely caught my attention. But the other ones, they had such a kind heart. I'm going, oh, I know you're side characters, but I want more from you. Can you get a
yeah. And even I felt, you know, like as someone who has recently found religion myself and even got a tattoo. At first I was kind of like, almost like, oh, is this, you know, going to be the focus of this whole thing? And, you know, it's uncomfortable whether it's taking somebody and making them like a bad guy based on their, you know, gender preferences or making someone a bad guy based on their religious preferences. It just can kind of rub readers the wrong way. And this book had both of that in it.
Yeah. I was wondering if that was going to come up with the character. Like, you didn't want it to be the caricature or the basis of, okay, we're going to use this as our jumping off point. But
yeah,
at least the woman who was the protester, she eventually left. And Morris, I still think he was awesome. I just saw the comment, you want him to become a regular character or customer? That would be great. If he comes back, or maybe he does his own little secret signing at home where he signs his next bestseller and then he gives it to the bookstore and then you see them sell out the next day or something. That would be great. Even if it's just a fun reference to him, I would love that.
Yeah. Well, he was in the photo with his puzzle ring, you know, so I enjoyed that. I highlighted that at the very beginning, puzzle ring, and then I totally forgot all about it. I probably could have solved it right away if I would have paid more attention to my own notes.
I was going up looking for it because I made note of this too. So I didn't know why this was a comment, and it just seemed like such an odd way to describe someone. Unless you have really giant hands, that's not the first thing I'm going to notice about you. This was like Reese's like chipped tooth. Why is this the thing we're talking about? I mean, maybe his chipped tooth was going to come back and be a big moment in the narrative. So same thing like this, it just seems so peculiar to have as a reference. I mean, unless you were saying something about like the actual person being out of proportion or something, like she has large hands, small head, like it wasn't small head or anything like that, it was just the large hands. So that was definitely one of those descriptions where I'm going, this is coming back somewhere, or this woman is a very odd author to focus on this description.
Right. And as someone with really big hands that I am happy to have inherited from my grandfather, who was a farmer, and all kinds of great stories I could tell, you know, I was like, that's a weird thing to say. What's wrong with having big hands?
I mean, this woman also apparently was wearing, I should have said, Morris as the woman, as Mavis, he was wearing a very nice dress that had been referenced. I mean, I would have been looking at the fashion or even focusing on the ring. I mean, even if the ring was on a big hand, I wouldn't really notice the big hand, to be honest. What am I comparing it to?
Yeah, I noticed it because it said puzzle ring, which intrigued me. I pictured it kind of like a Rubik's Cube ring that would have pieces that moved around. So that's what caught my attention. And, you know, in addition to cozies, I love puzzles of all sorts. So
also, if someone has big hand, just let them be. Let them go. Let them. Why are you noticing it? Stop with the chipped tooth and the big hands. Leave people alone.
So, Crystal, back to your theory you had mentioned earlier. It seems like you were pretty spot on with what you thought was going to happen. Finish up those 30 pages so you can be like, yeah, I'm a cozy mystery solver.
See, I didn't know who on my list was left after Lizzie sort of had her breakdown and was fired. I didn't really, Koji had no reason. I mean, he was the publicist. Who's he going to publicize if she's dead?
Right. I thought maybe something would turn up at the funeral. I think they even mentioned, Reese had mentioned, oh, well, the murderers often show up at the funeral. So I was like, maybe there's somebody that we haven't met yet. Sometimes there have been a few cozies that did that, where it's like, you don't really get to figure it out because they don't really introduce the murderer to you until it's too late and obvious. But nope, that wasn't even the case with this one.
So this was also one of those moments where it felt a little contrived to me to make the mystery work. So Darla found the clue the next day of the note written in lipstick. This woman, she found this. This is where I think it would have made sense. I'm going in as the editor, so for future editions, please make note of this. It would have made sense for her to have found the note when she went looking for Hamlet in the alleyway that evening, because the following day we had already had police, the fans, lots of fans coming and going. And in the report, so we had the reporters, the fans, the police, and all these people are walking around, but she finds this note even after this entire group of people have been wandering around the store this whole time.
Hamlet finds it. We got to give Hamlet credit.
Maybe when he was missing during that time, he could have come back with a note in his mouth of, okay, I found this.
Yeah. My cats love to play with little pieces of paper. Like, it's the best toy ever. So I thought it was kind of cool when he found it. And my library has books on wheels as well, or shelves on wheels. Books on wheels, shelves on wheels. So I was kind of like all nerding out at that part about, oh, my shelves move like that too, and then there was the whole mystery note in lipstick.
But I mean, nobody else noticed this. It just felt a little like, okay, we're going to try and pull you in as the sleuther. You found the clue. Now you must solve the case.
Yeah.
That was the moment where she was supposed to become really invested, because we also don't really get a very good vibe or perspective on Val Vixen there, or Valerie, what was the Baylor? That was the last name with the married maiden name there for Vixen. But we don't get a good vibe from her. And then it's not till the very, very end. Sorry, who I think it was Crystal said she had 30 pages left. We don't find out that they had her become that way to avoid any future issues. So if someone asked her a question she didn't know, she didn't have to answer it. Even then, I don't think you would have had to have been rude and abrupt and everything else to get out of answering a question. You could have just faked a phone call. But emergency, or, I have to go do the bath, like go take a phone call, or have us like, I'm so sorry about XYZ. But we don't really get okay, she's a good person who needs justice. That doesn't really seem to be the motivation for a while.
Yeah, I think maybe it was included to kind of give more of a rounder character to Mavis Morris, and to realize how much she had been hurting from losing his sister. That's kind of my thought. It did lend to that and made that character more.
See, I think maybe the first hint that she wasn't as bad as she seemed was the fact that she got along well with Hamlet. The cozy companion knows. The fact that Hamlet doesn't like Reese is still a mental note in my brain for any future readings. But the fact that she recognized Hamlet and they got along well, but Darla then made reference of, well, maybe two demons got along or something. So it kind of undercut the potential there. But maybe that was supposed to be foreshadowing of, oh, she is a good person. We just don't see it in the forefront because, again, my literary brain kicks in of she's not Hamlet off the page. Her being a good character is off the page until the very end. So maybe that was supposed to be a very intelligent moment that, looking back, it all makes sense.
Yeah, perhaps.
Again, when I start getting into my line by line analysis, you can see that I've taken one too many English classes.
This is my Hamlet, but this is Olive. He weighs like 20 pounds, but the description of Hamlet, automatically made me think of him. And he is so lovey. But yeah, if you don't give him food, he'll swipe you.
I just want to kiss his little forehead. Oh.
I know. He's a good
little white whiskers. Oh. And I don't even have Daisy to grab for comfort. This is what happens when I see a cute animal. I immediately have to pick up mine and be like, oh, I get cute comfort too. She's somewhere else. I don't know.
I know. And mine usually don't come around. But, you know, the two new babies, they don't know any better. They're sleeping together now up on the tower. They love to snuggle. But I think Olive just wants food. His bowl is empty.
Isn't that always the way?
Yeah.
I got some. I need you to do something for me. I summoned thee. Max used to always he would literally be like standing next to the thing he would want, where like, okay, this is where the treat belongs. Where's the treat?
Yeah. Put it down now. You're the one that is the bringer of food and you're ignoring me. I was ignoring him and then he was pawing at my legs. So I've been petting him so that he'll at least sit there and let me pet him until we're done and I can get him some food.
So I did see this question pop up about the black cloaks. So, and then Crystal has an answer here about it being reminiscent of the author. That's exactly what I thought. They were kind of paying homage to the creator of their world.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of that whole, you know, vampire thing, kind of tying in that whole connection, probably of the time period when this book was written. I don't really know what else would they, I think they even said it in there. What else would they do? Like put white sheets on their head, I think, like pretend like they're ghosts. I think that was the answer they gave when one of the characters asked about why do they even do black cloaks to start with.
See, again, I'm trying to think of I asked y'all in the Instagram stories what your first book signings were. And I'm trying to think of a book signing or a bookish event where they weren't dressed up like the characters, but the author. And I'm having a hard time doing that. I've seen, again, J.R. Ward was at, I think, one of the RWAs where they said things like the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and they had that on the shirt, and they had names and things like that on other types of, I mean, I've seen a lot of different things like the different tote bags and the shirts or sweatshirts or sweaters. So, I mean, there were different ways that they honored the author, but never I've seen someone, maybe it was because the author did something unique like that with the cloak. Maybe that was something we were going, okay, yes, this is what we can grab onto, because I don't really know if any other author photo has lent itself to that type of fandom moment.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, and I agree. It's always characters. And you made me remember that I actually went to a Twilight convention.
That's amazing.
I did not dress up, but I guess I could have.
Amazing. That's so cute. I know Forks, Washington. Like, I know that's a real place. I'm like, I want to go there someday. I've seen other bookstagrammers have their moments holding up the book. I'm like, I just think that'd be a really cool experience.
Yeah. You could make a whole vacation plan based on cozies and traveling to all the different locations where they happen.
I mean, I would definitely, cozy mysteries are definitely, aside from the few exceptions with the big cities, they're mostly set in suburbia. So that would definitely have to be a full-on trip to go there. I mean, at least the last one was San Diego for BoucherCon. I mean, I went to Washington the last week. But again, DC was home. I mean, so that was more, okay, I know exactly where I'm going, then I'm going to be a tourist. But San Diego was the last one. And I mean, I like being able to do the touristy things. And I went to do the whale watching, and I went to the zoo and all sorts of other things. And so it's hard for me to wrap my brain around like doing something when it comes to like the cozy mystery locations like that, because I would love to be able to go see them, but they're so far away from like, I don't know, there's like not what's the term I want to use? You have the giant airports, because the airport for San Diego was right there. So then you'd have to take your airport shuttle or something to the hotel, and you'd have to find your car to then go to your cozy town. And it's going to be a B&B cozy. Yeah. So that's a place to stay.
And there's very few B&Bs and not B&Bs. There's very few cozies. I think we've read one that was set in Florida. So I'd have to do some serious traveling, which would be okay with me. I agree with you, Mama Rocks. We're waiting for your book, Angela. When's it going to happen?
Oh my goodness. So I offered to do the Q&A, and I was trying to film some of the answers today to do future posts and reels and make sure all the questions got answered. So I have started working back on the story. It's taken me a long time to sort of get my life in the place where I could be in the creative zone. I was really sick during 2022. I was one of the bad cases of COVID. I was sick for 2 months, and then I had another month of like recovery after that. And then I ended up having, they were like, oh, you have something viral. They didn't even know what it was. They're like, something viral. And so I finally got to the place. Then, the emotional hit when I lost Max, and I've been doing better lately. So I'm finally back in the headspace of, okay, you can hit the creative zone. And I also have learned to be nicer to myself, because I would get mad going, oh, you only wrote an X amount of words, or, oh, you only did this. And so learning to be like, it's okay as long as you're making progress over perfection. Like, we're good right now. But there's so much on the to-do list. It's very, very hard to put myself on that list, like my writing goals, my writing dreams, because I still have a lot of interviews to edit from BoucherCon and Malice, and even last year's Malice Domestic, because this year was the first BoucherCon. So like there's still a lot of things I would love to get done, and it's just really hard to make progress with all of them all at once. So I'm trying.
That's all we ask for, is trying and realizing that you are an awesome human being. And I'm sure you are an amazing writer.
I mean, I think what ended up happening too, when I first started with the cozy, was I was in my head a lot with it. So again, learning to be nicer to myself, I think, has been a part of this process, because you know exactly what you look for in cozies. And so you don't want to fall into, oh, I don't want to have this detail be too apparent. Like, oh yeah, this is definitely, look over here, I'm waving the flag of this is a clue. You want things to blend, and then you go, am I overwriting this? So things like that, I was very nitpicky, and then it was very hard to move forward going, oh, like, okay, finish this one scene, it's okay, you can go back and edit it later. So it's definitely been a work in progress, but I appreciate you thinking someday. And I will go to the small town, because this is my thing too, right? Like, I would love to have those signings in the smaller locations, because they don't happen so frequently. Like, I would take it upon myself to do things like that, because it is so much easier to just focus on the big cities. But again, you need to have the luxury of time and money to do that. That's why I was saying, like, you'd have to rent the car to go to that cozy town. Like, you have to put in the extra effort, because they're not one of the metropolitan areas that people just naturally instinctively go to. We gotta make it somehow.
And you need to find out where all of us are, so you can come to our town too. Or city.
Well, I saw, so they've been doing the minor cozy cons. Kensington, they are brilliant. The team over at Kensington, Larissa, who's their push with the cozy mystery, she's absolutely fabulous. And so I know they're doing more. So I know they had Cozy Con, and then I know that Ellie Alexander's having something in Ashland. But again, it's harder to wrap your brain around, like, okay, I'm gonna go to Ashland for this one event, even though you're like, if I do something, like, I'm flying all the way out to this area, you want to make the trip worth. I'm like, I don't really know what else is in the area. I don't really know Oregon. And I've already done too many things this year to justify going to another one. So I hope people going post all the photos so I can live vicariously through them and see what's going on. But I thought that was nice. So one of the other small areas is having the sleuthing shining spotlight upon them.
Yeah, that would be great. It sounds awesome.
So we do have to have some smaller cozy town signings and get-togethers. It would be nice to do that.
Yes.
I was going to say, shine the spotlight on the small cozy towns.
Yes.
Oh, yes, that's true. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I think it's really inspiring when you find out people's backstories of how far they've come and everything like that. So maybe someday I can be inspiring someone else to pick up the pen and keep at it. So isn't that always the dream?
Oh yeah, you will. You inspire us all to read them. You can definitely inspire us to read yours.
Oh, oh my gosh, there's another Cozy Con happening. That's great.
Wow.
Oh, I'm so glad that they're doing more for cozy mysteries. I think we would have fun doing our own little I feel as if a lot of cozy readers got together, we'd have to come up with like a murder mystery dinner party thing, and we'd have to do something to commemorate the evening. We'd have to figure out a mystery to solve. I don't know if y'all remember the Golden Girls with Dorothy Zbornak when she's her own little sleuther. Like, we'd have to come up with something fun like that. We would have fun. You guys are so cute. You're making me want to like pick up the pen and start back at it. But it's so funny too, right? As I'm doing, I have one like totally outlined, ready to go. I have a new idea because I'm like, oh, no one's done this, have they? And I look it up and they haven't. And I'm going, oh, I got to write this before someone else does. And this becomes an actual trope and a thing that they do for another crafter or something. So I did do something, but it's more so about the job than anything else. So I need to put that on the back burner and return to it.
There you go. Have all the ideas.
Yes. Thank you. Murder Mystery Weekend. That would be epic. But you guys are so cute. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on with your notes for the book, or anything else y'all had that you wanted to comment about?
No, I think I just learned the new word. I highlighted it. I don't know how to say it. It's ailurophile. Ailurophile. Oh, there's another cat scratching. It means cat lover. So is there a word like that for book lover too?
I know bibliophile.
Oh, there we go. So you can be both an ailurophile and a bibliophile at the same time.
I mean, now I'm curious if there's a term for dog lover. I should have Googled that before this live stream, because if there's a certain terminology for cats, I'm curious if there's a certain terminology for dog lover.
Yeah, there's something. If there's a file or a phobia, I bet it's there.
I like the one, what is it? There's one, it has the fear of the number 13. That has its own term. So if that can have its own term, this should too.
Right. Yep, that's all I had.
I mean, I did make note of a quote. So Hamlet, being Hamlet, needing comfort, he'd put aside feline self-esteem for the security of her room. For some reason, that caught my attention. I'm going, he needed comfort the night of the murder. So Hamlet definitely stole my heart. That was just one of the other things I want to throw out there. I loved Hamlet.
He was the best. He was the first best character, followed by Callie.
Also, the lone protester. I don't know what that side storyline was. I just have the lone protester, like, because that's what they referred to her as after they picked her up. Her name is Janie, Jnie. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's what I'm going with. She's the performance artist, but they just started calling her the lone protester.
Yeah.
They didn't even use her name, which is why I was like, I don't even know what to make of that. Like, we lost track of her name after a certain point. She was just the lone protester.
And she was so obvious that you knew it wasn't her.
Yeah. I mean, when you're going like, I am your suspect, look at me. I mean, that's when your quiz mystery reader's like, not you. But I think those are all my notes. If you guys in the comments have anything else you wanted to add about Double Booked for Death, please comment now, because I think those are my notes. And I will pull up, because I don't want to get the book title wrong or tell you the wrong month. So as of tonight, oh no, I'm ahead. So this is where we're at. Ta-da! So 3 more reads for 2023. So December is a buddy read. So we're not going to have a live stream for December, because December 1st through December 12th is 12 days of cozies. And because of the holidays and everything else, it's just we do a buddy read instead of the live stream. So we only have 2 more. So we have October and November. So this is where we're at as of now.
Oh, so exciting. I'm excited about the paranormal cozy in October, my favorite kind. I don't have that one yet. I do have Sprinkle with Murder. I think that's actually my one autographed cozy mystery. I know you told me one day I would have one, and I do. I randomly was selected from her newsletter subscribers to receive a copy of that book with her autograph, and she sent me a cupcake scented candle to go with it.
That's so awesome.
I know. So cool. I have it all. I'll have to post it during that month for you guys to see.
So, fun fact, she was at BoucherCon. I met her, I saw her once, and I spoke with her on the second occasion. I didn't get her autograph.
Oh.
I didn't think to do a photo with her either.
Oh.
I think I was just like,
Jen McKinley is my ultimate number one cozy mystery author of all time.
I think I was a little like you exist. you're breathing the same air. Oh. I didn't even think to get the autograph. And I had my post. I always have a poster for events now. This is my new. I started doing this in the last couple of years. I have them, the authors I encounter, sign a poster, and it didn't even occur to me to ask her to sign.
Yeah, that happened to me last year. I went to a librarian one, and I'm waiting for the elevator at the hotel. I'm talking to some guy. It's Gordon Corman, who's like an amazing middle grades elementary school author. And I'm just talking to him like he's some regular dude.
So that's incredible. And I've done that more than once. Who was it? I think it was Scarlett Cole at the very first RWA I went to. I'm chatting with her like a normal human being. I look down, see, like 3-time art, like Rita nominee Scarlett. I'm like, wait a second. Because as soon as I read her name, she said like my whole disposition changed. And I know her well now, but at the time, I'm like, I go from talking to her like a person to becoming a fan instantly.
Yeah.
But I went to last week when I was in DC, I went to a lecture by Art Spiegelman, who wrote the book Mouse. And so I get there for the event. They say that they're not letting you can line up starting at 6. The doors are not opening till 6:30, but they're only going to let you start at 6. So I'm there at 5:55. I'm going in behind a man. He opens the door, and all of a sudden I'm literally 2 feet away from Art Spiegelman.
Wow.
That was incredible. I'm like, and I recognized him. I did the double take of like, it's you. Like, I didn't even know how to talk to him. Like, he held the door open. I'm like, thank you. That was, I think, all I said. I'm like, trying to figure out, like, am I allowed to talk to him?
I know. Bookworm problems.
I'm going like, you're Pulitzer Prize winning. You have one of the most impactful books of the last 100 years, Art Spiegelman. Hi. Like, what do you say to that? I mean, I know he's a person, but these are our idols. Like, this is what people, when they meet Madonna or Barbara Streisand or someone, are like, these are our people. I'm like,
yeah. And they're going to live forever because their books are going to be there forever, Oh,
I'm seeing comments pop up. So I do love all the pet names. I mean, I feel like anybody who has a pet, we all have pet names. We're like, oh, come here, sweetie, darling, honey. I always, what do I call Daisy? I call her Girly Girl because she always seems to be like prancing around. Like, she seems like a little diva. So I always call her Girly Girl. I think we all have names for our animals, don't we?
Yeah, I do rhyming ones. Olive, Bolive. What else? Well, Nutmeg is Little Nut, so there's nicknames. But those nicknames were also mean for Hamlet. I think he needs a sweet name too. Well, they did call him Ned, but I think he needs a cutesy name.
He needs the fur baby name with endearment. Like, you need the endearing term.
Yeah.
You say it with love.
Detective Hamlet.
And the voting is currently going on right now. So currently the poll is live. I think I can share it here. Let me see if I can do that. It's going to take me 1 second to pull it up. But y'all are currently voting for the 2024 Cozy Mystery TBR. The votes are coming in, and I was actually going to tell y'all, you actually just reminded me that I was going to give you a little bit of an inside take of how things are coming right now with the results, because there are a lot of really close votings right now. So
I'll break the tie.
I was going to say, it's still any book's game right now. There's only a couple months that there's a very clear winner for the most part. So for January right now, there's this, like, any book could win if one of them gets a giant push. I mean, so The Creeps of Wrath by Sarah Fox is winning at 22.2%. And it's followed by Mimi Lee Gets a Clue at 19.4. And all of these percentages are point something.
Wow.
Then we have three-way tie for third place with 15.3% and fourth place at 12.5. So there's really not too much of a gap. So I really think any book could take over these polls. I'm not going to... I feel badly when I say there's a month with a clear winner. I don't want the other books to feel bad. So I'm going to refrain from saying which ones have clear winners, because most of them, though, right now, for April, there are 3 books that are pretty close percentage-wise. I mean, same thing with May. There's actually a 3-way tie for first. So if you guys like to vote, your votes are going to matter. This is the Electoral College, and we're like, your votes will make a difference. How can I share this? Okay, I'm getting the link for y'all. So you're going to get another link sent right in the comments if I can post it. Unless I'm like, hopefully that will take you to, I know it's a very like, I'm not going to leave that. That looks crazy to have it right there. But hopefully if you copy and paste that, you'll be brought right to the voting page. And yeah, hopefully I'm going, yes, that worked. I myself actually didn't vote because I feel odd voting as the host. I don't want to have any impact. Y'all are voting. The books are submitted by book club members. I think they should be voted on by the book club members themselves. So I am refraining. So just in case if anyone has any real problems, I'm saving my vote with my Gmail account, so I can always help someone if they have problems. So
they're all going to be great to read in some way, shape, or form. And even if they are a 1-star for you, it just makes the next month that much better.
Oh, that's such a good way of looking at it. I also feel as if these books have been recommended by book club members and they're voted on. I feel like you have to go through iterations before you can even win at this point. So there's multiple people who have to vote for you, because again, these percentages are really close. To win, you have to have sparked some sort of interest or love or gotten kind of like the stamp of okay from enough book club members. I think y'all have good taste. I trust you.
Yeah.
And I'm not really too concerned.
Like the Deputy Donut series from a couple months ago, I read number 1 in days, and then I've read every single book except the one that is the most recent one now. I just devoured all of them. So that's the other good thing, is that if you like that very first one, it opens up a whole series of other books for you to get into.
So I just saw, the voting form was originally shared in the email newsletter. So it was shared for August and September, and I think I shared it twice. Because I did an extra email this month because we had Cozy Mystery Day. So a special email newsletter with that. And then I shared it in the Twitter main feed. I believe it was shared somewhere else, like which social media platform. But it's also in the link tree as well. So if you click on any of the bios in Twitter, Instagram, it's at the top of the link tree. I just posted it in the comments. And I also did a little Instagram sort of explanation showing y'all what the form looks like and kind of giving you a little bit of the inside behind the scenes sneak peek of things. So the percentages have changed a little bit, but there was a little inside sneak peek of what was going on at the time. So hopefully it's in enough places so that if people missed tonight's live stream, they'll be able to find it. I'm also mentioning that in case someone actually asks you and they're like, where do we find this? So you know exactly how to help them. So there's always somebody who can't find something. So if you ever have problems, just let me know. And oh my gosh. Yeah, so all of the books should be available. This is how a book becomes one of our book club read options. So it has to be recommended by a book club member, but the book itself has to be the first cozy mystery in a series. It has to be available across platforms. So it's not just limited to Amazon or just a Barnes & Noble read. Barnes & Noble has exclusive special editions, but the book is available elsewhere. And then it also has to be available as multiple formats, because I know we have sleuthers who are deaf, blind, so it has to be available as a paperback, ebook, audiobook. It has to be available across platforms in that way, because I want to make cross mediums in that way. Again, I was like, I should have had another sip of the caffeine there. So that's very important. So all of them should be available as audiobooks for you. So if you are an audiobook listener, all of them are audiobooks, unless something really slipped through the cracks, and I double checked these things twice. So hopefully it's good to go. And then I was like, whichever wins, hopefully you'll be able to have whatever medium you like.
all of the above.
Oh my gosh. So if you have any other questions, please comment now, because clearly I'm losing my voice and I was stumbling over my words there. Yeah, so I don't know what happened. It was listed as having an audiobook for this month. I know that. I actually have a screenshot that proves that it had an audiobook listing. Now, I don't know if there was a mix-up on some sort of, I don't know what that mix-up was, but it was available, or someone had the link at one point in time. So whether it was a dud link that led to nowhere, or like, the Amazon page of the dog saying, "We're sorry." I don't know if y'all have ever been brought to that page. The Amazon were like, "We can't find the page you're looking for." I was looking for that too, because I know it was available, or someone had it listed as available. I have proof. I have folders that I do behind the scenes for y'all. So I don't know what happened, but at one point in time, there was a link. Otherwise, it would not have ended up on the list. And I couldn't believe that somebody didn't point it out to me before. So I was looking for that too, Cat Mom. I've got your back. So I don't know, but I really looked for those books that were listed for the TBR, though. So those should all have audiobooks. Oh, thank you for joining us and chatting about the book and being here to celebrate Cozy Mysteries. Oh, you guys are so cute.
Double booked, double Angela. It was a great time.
No, I appreciate you saying no worries, and I appreciate you saying that, but it definitely got my blood pressure up, because I knew something had happened. I'm going, I don't like it when things slip through the cracks or things go technology-wise, because I have a screenshot. I do. I might have to share it in the Instagram stories, because that definitely, I don't know what happened.
Ever the sleuth. She has her proof, her evidence.
I do. I do everything, because even then I take screenshots, because originally we had Twitter polls and everything else. So I had to have all the information ready to go. So the Twitter poll, I had all the screenshots of, this is on Goodreads, this is what this is. So that's how I have the screenshot too. I have a reason for having a screenshot. So that was a very tangent moment. Like, again, my sleuther cap is on. I have my little Sherlock Deer cap ready to go. Thank you guys for joining. You guys are so sweet. And I'll pull up the image one more time. So where are we? This is, yes. No, dang it. There we go. There we go. Finally checked off. That was kind of a cool effect. So we officially have next month, which is, can I zoom in here? If You've Got It, Haunted. And then November is Sprinkle with Murder. And then we have A Christmas Candy Killing. So please update your TBR. And I'm really hoping that you enjoy our paranormal read for October. I just realized I need to put the banner away. How do I do this? Oh, goodness. This is what happens when the evening, you need more caffeine. Anywho, so those are the book titles. So I'm really hoping that y'all are able to get them. You can join the future live streams. If you can't, these are always archived after the fact. I'm also making progress with my transcription archive and the podcast archive. So hopefully, however you enjoy Cozies, I've got you covered. But thank you so much for joining tonight. Do you have any last minute thoughts, things you want to add?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to start. Well, I did start another cozy last night, but I'm ready to start October's cozy after I finish that one.
Oh, I hope y'all love it. I do believe that I have one more giveaway for that book. So again, in honor of the start of the 5-year celebration. So the idea of the Cozy Mystery Book Club happened in 2017. The very first live stream was 2018, January 2018. So been in existence for a long time. So giving away the same number of copies for the same number of years we've been in existence. So slowly doing the giveaway, working on that. So there's probably another giveaway coming your way. So if you guys want to keep a lookout for that, please do. But thank you so much for joining, for discussing the book, being a part of the book club. Please stay safe, healthy, and yes, the read along. Things are happening. So please stay up to date with all things Cozy Mystery Book Club. I recommend the newsletter, the email newsletter. You can sign up anywhere you like. Trying to make that as easy as possible too. That's going to have all of your information, but I'm also trying to update the Twitter and the Instagram. So hopefully I'll keep you in the loop so that when October and everything else Cozy Mystery is happening, you're in the now. So be on the lookout because things are always happening. But thank you for joining. Thank you for being here tonight. And please stay kind, healthy, happy, and enjoy your next Cozy Mystery. Bye, everyone.